Morning all. Alright, so I want to start off today talking about the Colorado Avalanche. Yep, we're going to revisit the Stanley Cup champions of about a month ago. So the 2022 Stanley Cup champions, of course, the Colorado Avalanche. Ordered this from the NHL shop, converted it to a magnet. There you go. This is the one video where I might be able to use it, I guess, in the season preview as well, right? So they finished the season 56-19-7. And what's interesting is, previously had won President's Trophy, didn't win the Cup, and now they do. So while the President's Trophy is seen as this jinx, it does seem to be a precursor to a team winning a Stanley Cup. Now, this was Jared Bednar's 6th season, and a 119-point season tells you, combined with the Stanley Cup, his job's safe for quite a while. Bednar has nothing to worry about. And really, throughout this playoffs, there really wasn't a point where Colorado was pushed to the brink. None of these series went to 7 games. The first series was a 4-0 shellacking of the Nashville Predators. Makar, 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points. He was the leading scorer in that series. Kemper was 2-0 with a .934 save percentage, was replaced by Francouz when Kemper got hurt. Francouz went 2-0 with a .902 save percentage. The overtime goal they had in that series was Cale Makar at 8:31 of overtime in Game 2 to put the Avalanche up 2-0 and really drive that home. That was the one Ingram tried to steal it. Did everything he could, just could not steal that one from the Colorado Avalanche. So we move on to round 2, and this is easily the most controversial of the 4 rounds. Yes, there was a collision between Kadri and Binnington. Yes, it made a lot of people very angry, and it happened. So in the end, they win the series 4-2. I think what that overshadows too is that I would say 5 out of the 6 games in this series, they outplayed St. Louis. So the right team definitely won. Sure, if Binnington's in there, it might have stayed closer, but I don't think St. Louis would have beaten them. Kadri, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points for him to lead Colorado in scoring in that series. Darcy Kemper went 4-2 with an .892 save percentage. And Kemper being a little shaky at times is part of what gave St. Louis that feeling, and fans that feeling that maybe they could pull off the upset. The one overtime goal in that series for Colorado was scored by Josh Manson at 8:02 of overtime in the first game in the series. So they move on to the conference final, and they go back to the steamrolling. They steamrolled the Oilers. It was 4 games, and again, it's Cale Makar. So he had 10 points in the 4-game sweep against Nashville. In the 4-game sweep against Edmonton, he had 9 points, 2 goals, 7 assists. So 19 points in those 8 games. It's as if a big part of making sure you're able to beat Colorado is shutting down Cale Makar. Francouz went 4-0 in that series, .908 save percentage. Kemper just got into 1 game, .813 save percentage. So again, Francouz has to step in, and he's able to do so well enough. The overtime goal in this series was scored by Arturi Lehkonen for the 2nd straight year. He puts a team into the Stanley Cup Final with a game winner, and that was scored at 1:19 of overtime in Game 4 to complete the sweep. So just as we're settling in and going, well, this could be a fun overtime, and it's over. Colorado not wasting any time. And then you get to the Stanley Cup Final, and it was a real battle in this one. It ends up being a 6-game victory for the Colorado Avalanche over the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. Mikko Rantanen is the leading scorer in the final with 8 assists. Not as many goals as one might expect from Rantanen in this run, but a lot of assists. Kemper goes 4-2 with a .908 save percentage. Francouz was in net briefly. No record there. And .909 save percentage for Francouz. There were 2 overtime goals for Colorado in that series. First by Burakovsky at 1:23 of overtime in Game 1. And then at 12:02 of overtime in Game 4, which put Colorado up 3-1. To their credit, Tampa Bay did win Game 5 to force a Game 6, but Game 6 goes to Colorado. They do win the Stanley Cup. So when we look at the scoring from this team, what I think is interesting too is because this is this year's Stanley Cup, look who they've already lost. So you have Rantanen at the top, 75 games, 36 goals, 56 assists, 92 points during the regular season. In the playoffs, he adds 5 goals and 20 assists in 20 games. So an assist per game is a pretty good rate of scoring. And then you have Mckinnon, 65 games, 32 goals, 56 assists, 88 points. I have said for years, McKinnon hasn't been a problem in Colorado. He's really good in the playoffs, and this year he gets his cup ring. with 13 goals, 11 assists for 24 points in 20 games. Nazem Kadri. The question mark is, because we don't know for sure whether or not he's gone. He's still negotiating with Colorado as I'm recording this. In 71 games, 28 goals, 59 assists, 87 points. And they'll miss him if he goes. I do think they're going to be able to overcome that if he does, because there's some good depth in this organization, but I think they'd rather have him back. 16 games in the playoffs, 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points. And he played through injury in these playoffs as well, as many players did. Cale Makar, 77 games, 28 goals, 58 assists, 86 points. I avoid the Bobby Orr comparison when people say he's the best defenseman in the league since Bobby Orr. Just enjoy Cale Makar as he is. 8 goals, 21 assists for 29 points in 20 games. He ends up winning the Conn Smythe, leads them in scoring. And as I said, in the 2 series where they got sweeps, he was absolutely fantastic. 19 of his 29 points came in those series. And then you got Burakovsky, who has moved on from the Colorado Avalanche. 80 games, 22 goals, 39 assists, 61 points. Somebody's going to have to step up on the wing and get that scoring in his absence. In 12 playoff games, though, 3 goals, 5 assists. So one thing working to Colorado's advantage, there were points during the playoffs where Burakovsky wasn't in the lineup. They were still winning games. So it showed that Burakovsky right there might be the guy who ends up going, and he is. Landeskog, 51 games, 30 goals, 29 assists, 59 points. When he's healthy, he's fantastic. In the playoffs, he did play all 20 games, had 11 goals, 11 assists, 22 points. So Landeskog, very good run for him. Devon Toews, 66 games during the regular season, 13 goals, 44 assists, 57 points. In the playoffs, he adds 5 goals, 10 assists in 20 games. So for Devon Toews, pretty good season he had there in Colorado. He's going to be there for quite some time. Valarie Tuscan, who since winning that Stanley Cup has signed an extension with Colorado. 62 games, 25 goals, 27 assists, 52 points. I'm very happy he's staying in Colorado. I think that's the perfect setup for him. In 20 playoff games, 9 goals, 6 assists, 15 points. Absolutely turning beast mode in the playoffs quite often. And Tuscan, it'll be interesting to see what he can do for an encore this coming season. JT Compher, 70 games, 18 goals, 15 assists, 33 points. In the playoffs, he plays every game. And in the absence of Kadri, he stepped up. He ended up with 5 goals and 3 assists in the playoffs. But again, when Kadri was out of the lineup, he took that second-line center spot, and he did well. Then you have Newhook, 71 games, 13 goals, 20 assists, 33 points. Only played 12 playoff games, had 4 assists, did not get a goal these playoffs. And you have to think Newhook's going to play a more prominent role going forward. Maybe he gets some of those points Burakovsky's leaving behind. Mckinnon only played 16 games with the Avs during the regular season. That was after the trade, of course. 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points for him. In the playoffs, 8 goals, 6 assists for 14 points in 20 games. And usually with these, I've been doing top 10 scorers, but I thought, no, I've got to get Mckinnon in there. It's not like he was a depth scorer. He was a key guy for them in the playoffs. And then in net, you've got Darcy Kemper, who has moved on. He is no longer a member of the Avs. 37, 12, and 4, 921 save percentage in the playoffs. He was 10 and 4 with a 902 save percentage. He did have his struggles in the playoffs. Francouz, 15, 5, and 1, 916 save percentage in the playoffs. 6 and 0 with a 906 save percentage. And so he's going to be maybe the man. Maybe it'll be Georgiev. We'll find out. But for Colorado, they proved in these playoffs that goaltending, while it's important, it doesn't have to be the absolute key depending on how your team's put together. Johansson had a 3-2-1 record with an 880 save percentage before he was moved. Anunen, a 1-0-1 record, 863 save percentage. So, in all likelihood, he would make his debut not this coming season, but the following season in terms of being a regular in the NHL, should that be their plan. He ends up being the backup. Maybe they're planning on for him to be the starter later on. We'll find out. Their depth, not too shabby. Girard, who of course got hurt. A lot of rumors about whether or not Girard's going to get moved because they're going to have cap problems going forward. It's possible. I think they'd rather keep Girard, though. Jack Johnson, who still hasn't decided on what he's going to do for this coming season. He had his day with the Cup, and he said when he was interviewed for that, he hasn't really made a decision on his future. He'd like to return to Colorado, though, if possible. Josh Manson, who has re-signed after coming over from Anaheim. Bowen Byram, who I would think next year will be top 10 in scoring. and one of the more prominent defensemen. He got better and better as the playoffs went along. Really remarkable story with Byram this year. Cogliano sticking around, and O'Connor. I really like O'Connor. I hope that he gets a chance to move up the lineup a little bit. Very hard working forward, and I think there's some upside there offensively. But there you go. The 2022 Colorado Avalanche, who ended a 21-year drought for this franchise without a Stanley Cup, and now they've got it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.